Wow, you can call me Dr. Katie now, everyone. President Kerwin, Dean Rutenbeck, administration and faculty, parents, friends, and most of all, the class of 2014. Look at you. Thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor to play this small part in your very big and exciting day. I know it's all about commencement, but for me it's a little bit like homecoming being here because I grew up right across the bridge in Arlington. And as some of you know or may not know, my dad, John Couric, earned his master's in communications from AU and later came back to teach both journalism and PR. He loved learning here and teaching here, and he'd be thrilled that I was receiving this honorary doctorate from his alma mater. He'd be bursting with pride, and I so wish he could be with us. But my dad passed away almost 3 years ago, and I miss him every day. He was my guiding light, my inspiration, someone of great intelligence and integrity. Meanwhile, though, I'm so lucky that my mom is here today, and I don't know where she's sitting. Mom, where are you? Hi. So let's hear it for the parents. Let's thank them for their support in every sense of the word. So all you graduates, commencement is just the beginning, but it's also the end of your time here at AU, and I know you're gonna miss so much about this place. Professors who not only teach you what you wanna learn, but also help you figure out where you're going because they've been there. PR portfolio with Professor Kumar, writing for communication with Professor Lawrence, producing environmental and wildlife films with Professor Palmer, just to name a few. Having the city of Washington, D.C. as your classroom, your laboratory, your playground, and coming home to a campus where political activism is as natural as breathing. Coffee at the DAV and margaritas at Guapo's, but maybe not in that order. Mac and cheese at TDR, steak and eggs at Steak and Egg. And from what Jeff just said, it sounds like many of you are leaving with already having jobs in hand, so accomplished, so prepared, but some of you are leaving SOC with your futures still TBD. So, how do you find your way? Well, for every single one of you, the journey will be uniquely your own. But today I thought I'd try to offer some practical advice, some rules for this long and winding road trip called life. Just think of me as your personal GPS, or maybe your Siri. By the way, did you know that you can curse at Siri and she actually takes it really well? I do this at times for fun. Anyway, I digress. Getting back to life advice, I reached out to you all to ask you to help me help you. Yes, that is right. I crowdsourced my speech. I, period, am, period, so, period, hip, period. Let's start with Melissa Stoner, who asked me to talk about traditional and new media and where our professions are going, which is an excellent question, Melissa. Where are you, Melissa, by the way? Hi, Melissa. That's a great question, and it's one that everyone is trying to figure out. In my own career, I feel like I've had to reboot myself repeatedly, and reboot is a word we didn't even know existed when I was 22. In fact, 2 years after most of you were born, in 1994, Bryant Gumbel and I were on the Today Show asking each other about this new thing called the internet. Many of you might have seen that embarrassing footage online, by the way. The transformation of our society has been nothing short of astonishing. You're entering the professional world at a time of breathtaking change and uncertainty. But I am very excited about the future, and I think you should be too. When everything is in flux, opportunities abound. For those of you in film and media arts, your generation will face fewer gatekeepers. The other day, Ron Howard told me, yes, name drop alert, that his industry, more than ever before, is a meritocracy. There are so many outlets, so many new ways to showcase your work. You don't need to fight to get a foot in the door because nowadays, the door is a screen on the top of your desk or a 5x2 inch rectangle in the palm of your hand. Likewise for you in public and strategic communications. You can be disruptors and influencers. The playing field for advocacy and outreach is broader than ever. You have so many ways to get your message out and to engage a community. And thanks to the internet and social media, your community is now the whole world. A Facebook page can spark a movement. A meme can become a mascot. A viral video can make us laugh, cry, or bear witness to injustice. A hashtag can change a vote or unite the world in outrage over kidnapped girls in Nigeria. And what about journalism? It's true that many outlets have struggled, cut back, or closed shop. But in just the past year, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post because he still sees value in a long-standing and respected media institution. Meanwhile, fueled by energy, creativity, and possibility, there are scores of people out there trying to create the new news institutions of tomorrow. Who would have thought that organizations with names like Mashable, BuzzFeed, Vox, and Vice would be redefining the traditional newsroom? And I'd never have guessed, even a few years ago, that I would be the global anchor at Yahoo. Who'd have thunk it? We're in the midst of reinventing and reimagining how journalism is being created and delivered. News gathering has changed. Now anyone with a cell phone can capture a critical moment. Production values have changed. What was once considered a mishmash of unpolished images is right at home online. Delivery and distribution systems have changed and multiplied. We can see things whenever and wherever we want. But when it comes to content, as the old saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. All the delivery systems in the world are worth nothing if they have nothing to deliver. Quality content still matters. So does storytelling. So do trusted sources. Accuracy still counts. Context and perspective are needed, all very old media ideals. But how do we keep those ideals alive in this brave new world? How can we dig deep and hold people's attention? How can we engage and elevate when we're competing with grumpy cat videos and bikini-clad celebrities? How do we keep from abdicating our responsibility to help enlighten, illuminate, expose, and hold accountable so we maintain the informed electorate so essential to our democracy? As the founder of my alma mater, Thomas Jefferson, said, whenever the people are well-informed, they can be trusted with their own government, that whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their notice, they may be relied on to set them right. I must confess, I worry. I worry about the critical issues of the day, that they're being ignored in a changing and increasingly competitive media landscape. I worry that quality will continue to be sacrificed for ratings and clicks. But when I see your faces, when I look at you, faces that will be populating the business I love in the years to come, I have faith. When I hear about the work you're already doing, it restores my faith. I am counting on all of you to aim high as content providers and content consumers. I'm hopeful the great content you supply will always be in demand because all of you will demand it. But no matter where you land, it won't be easy going from being the BMOC to the LMOTTP, low man on the totem pole. I remember like it was yesterday, driving down MacArthur Boulevard in my white, non-air-conditioned Toyota Corolla after a long day as a desk assistant at ABC News, where my main job responsibilities included getting Frank Reynolds his lunch, and thinking, for this, I spent 4 years in college. It may take some adjustment, this paying your dues stuff, but a solid work ethic, a lot of initiative, and a positive attitude will serve you well. I love something Queen Rania of Jordan once said, which was, if you're too big for a small job, you're too small for a big one. Be the one who does small jobs gladly, volunteers to work on weekends, and goes the extra mile. Believe me, you will get noticed. Another student, Isabella Diaz, asked, where are you, Isabella? Hi. What is the biggest discouragement you've ever faced, and how did you overcome it? Well, Isabella, how much time do you have? My first on-camera experience was here in Washington at CNN, which at the time was an upstart operation my network colleagues dismissively called chicken noodle news. It was 1980. I'd been in the job for just a few months and in television barely a year. But because CNN was a non-union shop, it was a place where everyone could do everything. So one day, the bureau chief of the Washington Bureau decided to give me a shot. He said, "I'd like to give you a chance to report from the White House." I was up all night, standing in front of my mirror, speaking slowly and deliberately into my hairbrush. It was very Marsha Brady. Early the next morning, I was ready to go. I put my earpiece in and I overheard the anchors talking. "Who is that girl?" one said to the other. "She looks like she's about 16 years old." Just as the commercial break was about to end, I was up. My voice squeaked like a chipmunk. I struggled to pronounce Zbigniew Brzezinski, which, believe me, is still not easy. I was awful. The president of CNN called the assignment editor and instructed him to never allow me on the air again. I was embarrassed and humiliated. I actually thought about packing it in, pursuing something altogether different. And then I said to myself in true Stuart Smalley fashion, "You're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you." And I decided to channel my disappointment into getting better. So I went to work in local news, first in Miami, and later back here at WRC, right down the street, putting in the hours, mastering the nuts and bolts, and learning from every mistake I made. I got more comfortable, I got more confident, I got better. That's what happens when you put in the time in whatever profession you choose. I've never heard anyone say this better than Sully Sullenberger. I interviewed him a few months after he miraculously landed that US airplane on the Hudson River, saving all 155 people on board. For 42 years, he told me, I've been making small, regular deposits in this bank of experience. And on January 15th, the balance was sufficient so that I could make a sudden, large withdrawal. It's unlikely any of us will ever have to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River, but there will be critical moments in your career when you'll be tested, and like Sully, you better be ready. Those endless hours in local news covering fires and snowstorms prepared me for the moment the late Tim Russert, who later became my dear friend and mentor, offered me a job as the deputy Pentagon correspondent for NBC back in 1989. 2 years later, I was co-anchor of the Today Show, where I spent 15 remarkable years covering some of the biggest news stories of that era. The Clarence Thomas hearings, the O.J. Simpson trial, the Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, the explosion of the Space Shuttle Columbia, the Gulf War, the death of Diana, Hurricane Katrina, and 8 Olympic Games. What an extraordinary ride. The places I went and the people I met. But I was ready for a change, and the opportunity to be the first female solo anchor of an evening newscast was hard to turn down. So I joined CBS in 2006 with the marching orders to loosen up the broadcast, make it more modern and accessible, and less self-important. In my first few months, critics complained about my clothes, my hair, my makeup, my delivery, even the way I held my hands on the anchor desk. Some claimed I lacked gravitas. I've decided that is Latin for testicles. It was tough, but a friend reminded me, a boat is always safe in the harbor, but that's not what boats are built for. I focused on the news and not the noise, and by the time I left CBS 5 years later, I looked back on it with real pride. From the surge in Iraq, to the earthquake in Haiti, to the Gulf oil spill, I was on the front lines of the biggest stories. I helped viewers understand the revolution in Tahrir Square and get to know Sarah Palin. Don't mention it. I have faced setbacks, disappointments, and I'm sorry to say, so will all of you. You may take some wrong turns and lose your way, but you will get back on track doing what that annoying lady on your GPS does. That's right, by recalculating. You will not turn back. You will ask for directions if necessary, and you will reach your destination. Meanwhile, many of you here today, like Madeline Feldman, Dina Levitz, and Philip Scranage asked, hi, you three, how do you balance work and family? Can women have it all? Can men have it all? Can anybody have it all? Can we please stop asking this moronic question? As Gloria Steinem said recently, nobody can have it all because nobody can do it all. Let's be honest, juggling demanding jobs and kids can be challenging, but plenty of people do it and do it really well. I spent 10 years after I graduated happily single. I wanted to be footloose and fancy-free and able to move from market to market and hone my reporting skills. I dated guys I subconsciously knew were not marriage material. Ultimately, I did find someone I loved, and I married at 32. Had my first daughter at 34 when my career was in full swing. As proof that you just can't plan everything, my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer, and Jay died at 42. It was devastating, but I felt so fortunate to be financially secure, and supporting my daughters was the least of my worries. Work-life balance doesn't mean a constant state of serene equilibrium. For me, at least, it's required periodic reassessments of how and where I'm spending my time, and a recognition that when things are out of balance, I can figure out ways to right the ship. And I honestly think my girls have become strong and independent young women because I wasn't constantly hovering over their every move. They saw me out in the world making my mark, and now they want to do the same in their own unique ways. It seems to have worked for us. But there's no single blueprint, no one-size-fits-all for how to live your life. Do what's best and what works for you. Only you know when to lean in, lean out, or lie down and take a nap. When Sheryl Sandberg tells women in particular, don't leave before you leave, she means don't let your future fears about the balancing act keep you from going full throttle right now. Look for work you really love and give it everything you've got, and have confidence that you will figure it out. A final question from Santosh Rayo about my most memorable interview. Where are you? Hi. In some ways, Santosh, that's like asking someone to name their favorite child. I've had so many unforgettable encounters. Colin Powell, Katharine Hepburn, Howard Stern, Yasser Arafat, Hugh Jackman, hello Hugh. Miss Piggy, who incidentally got mad at me when I suggested she meet my good friend Jimmy Dean. There have been presidents, prime ministers, captains of industry, Pulitzer Prize-winning authors, some pretty handsome movie stars. But it's not those who land on the covers of magazines who have impressed me the most. There are people like Sam Burns. Sam had progeria, a disease that gave him the appearance of being a 90-year-old man when he was just a little boy. But that didn't stop Sam Burns from living life to the fullest. He joined the marching band at his high school, made tons of friends, and won every academic prize there was. His parents, both physicians, ultimately discovered a gene that causes the disease, and in the process, helped so many children just like Sam. They are remarkable people. Sam died in January at the age of 17, and I'll never forget him. People like Michael Scholes and Craig Scott of Littleton, Colorado. Michael lost his son, and Craig lost his sister during the massacre at Columbine High School. But on a snowy April morning, united in grief, I watched them find each other. People like Irving Fratkin, an optometrist from Fall River, Massachusetts, who started collecting $1 from every single person so all the kids in his town could go to college. That small grassroots effort became Scholarship America, and for the last 50 years plus, it's given more than 1.8 million students $2.7 billion in scholarships. But by far, I think the most gratifying work I've done has come from using this platform I've been privileged to have to make a difference. My on-air colonoscopy following Jay's death made me the butt of more than a few jokes, but it also reduced the incidence of colon cancer in men and women 50 and over by 30% in the last 10 years. My role in creating Stand Up to Cancer, which has raised more than $280 million for cancer research and has changed the paradigm by mandating collaboration, not competition, among scientists and their respective institutions. Tackling childhood obesity and shining a light on the role the food industry and government have played in this heartbreaking epidemic that has left the current generation of children with a tragic legacy of living shorter lifespans than their parents in a documentary called Fed Up, which opens this weekend, by the way. I hope you guys will go and see it. But you don't have to be a network news anchor to have an impact. In a time when we've lost so much faith in our institutions to get anything done, you can, more than ever before, be the change you wish to see in the world. And that is not some cheesy quote on Pinterest, people. That is Gandhi. You can galvanize a whole chorus of like-minded individuals to start a movement, fight for social justice, pressure governments to act and attitudes to change. The familiar quote by anthropologist Margaret Mead has been imbued with fresh relevance. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that is so exciting. Please don't lose your youthful idealism. I know at 57, I'm still holding on to mine for dear life. But think locally, not just globally. Simple acts of kindness are important too. Be the one who helps that friend in need, checks on an elderly neighbor, walks over and talks to that person standing alone at a party, sticks up for the boy being bullied. Imagine how much better the world would be if we all went out of our way to show just a little compassion, if we looked beyond our selfies and simply made it a priority to be kind. It may in fact reverberate in ways you never expected. Madhavi Reddy, who's graduating today. Madhavi, where are you? Hi. Madhavi grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia. When she was just 8 years old, she and her friends set up a neighborhood library for all the local kids to visit and check out books. Well, their little library ended up on the local news, and Madhavi and her friends each received a letter from their state senator. Madhavi described the letter as wonderful and personalized. It made such an impact on her that she remembers it to this day. Well, that state senator was my sister, Emily Couric. Emily cared deeply about education and loved public service. She died of pancreatic cancer when she was 54, but she touched so many lives, including Madhavi's, with that one simple gesture. Madhavi told me whenever she's home and drives past the Emily Couric Clinical Cancer Center, she feels proud to have been recognized by such a kind and caring person. And who knows how many children Madhavi herself inspired and enriched with her makeshift neighborhood library. Changing the world doesn't happen all at once. It isn't a big bang. It's the sum of a billion tiny sparks. And some of those sparks will have to come from all of you. Your generation has more to give than you know, and the world cannot wait to receive it. So get out there and show us all how wonderful you are. Make a spark, burn bright, and light the way. Congratulations.